Thanks very much for turning up tonight, Alex. Last time we did a webinar, yes, we didn't quite get over the message that you really wanted to get over, and I didn't think we did as well, because I've got really three questions to ask you. Why is Worcester Bosch so good? Why do Worcester Bosch have the least breakdowns than any other boiler? Yeah. And why is Worcester Bosch so behind LNPG and the landlord market? Why are you supporting it? Now, there's three questions I've just given you. So can we go to the first one? I'm going to ask you directly, and we've known each other 7 years. Yeah. Why Worcester Bosch? And by the way, I've got quite a few Worcester Bosch boilers, and I've never had one of my boilers break down. So I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to ask you a direct question. Why are Worcester Bosch so good?
Well, there's a massive investment in, firstly into product quality. So there's a big pride within the business to manufacture the best quality boilers in the industry. And we have a large investment in research and development. So we're constantly trying to invest into the future technology. But I guess it starts really from the product quality, and I can probably demonstrate that through the main component of any manufacturer's boiler, and that is the heat exchanger. So if I could just show you here, there's a lot of robustness in this in regards to the engine to any type of Worcester Bosch boiler. You can see there's large waterways as well. So it's very focused to the UK market and UK central heating systems. So we've built it robustly. Solely for the UK market, not for other European markets in regards to what their water type is like. It's really focused to the UK market. We also invest heavily in customer service, so we've got 360 engineers nationally that are employed directly from the business. So we don't use the subcontractors. So we can then control the quality of how we're repairing visits.
Because I've been in your customer service department, and I'm not just saying that because you're on this Zoom meeting with me. And again, when I was listening to calls, and I was, me, I try to lose you. And by the way, I do try to lose him, and they come hunting for me. And I'm standing there, I'm listening. That's true. He goes, "Just watch him gone. I'm off." And I follow people because you have to keep swiping through, and I follow people round. I tell you, I'm terrible.
Well, he wouldn't have got in last Thursday. The Chancellor of the Exchequer was there, so
I saw him there. We'll move on from that. One of the things is that when I was listening to the staff talking, they were trying to fix the problem while they're on the phone, and they did take them through step by step to see if they could get that boiler up and running. Okay, which I was really impressed with. And they actually went over to a boiler that you got on the wall.
We've invested a massively amount of money in our technical department. So where installers, the tradesmen, the builders, developers, landlords, consumers can call in if there is an issue with resetting the boiler, if there's an issue with there's not enough pressure in the boiler. So we use that like a triage approach, where it can prevent us saving a lot of money from an engineer, qualified gas safe engineer going out from our own business, and also can improve on the customer satisfaction. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that the customer, landlord, tenant, resident, is up and running with heating and hot water. And you can see that through some of our results. I wanted to mention a little bit about Trustpilot. So I've just been looking on, and I saw AO.com were on earlier, and have a rating of 4.7. We also have a rating of 4.7, but it's not just a score, it's how many you get. So we've got over 17,000 Trustpilot reviews. So, that's working on not just on fixing your boiler, but experiences like what you've had. It's a shame perhaps you haven't put a Trustpilot review, maybe, or I don't know if you have, onto Trustpilot about our products, but we're constantly getting good endorsement from these customers that have faith in our appliances.
Absolutely, but again, it's like I've got about, I think, about 7 odd Worcester Bosch boilers, and I've had them like 4 or 5 years, and
Yeah.
we've known each other 7 years. Is that, but also the pricing that is. I'm quite amazed that you've carried on with the support that you have, and I'm so pleased you and Paul have. Is that the Worcester Bosch boiler seems to be so robust. I haven't been able to put a thing on Trustpilot about your customer service because I've never rang them. Now, I admit something. I did something 4 years ago. I walked into a plumbing merchant, yeah, and it was Wolseley. It used to be called Plum Centre, and I saw a cheap boiler, £500, yeah, and with a 7-year warranty. And I went, I'll have that. I bought it. It broke down within a year. I can't remember exactly. It might be like 14 months. It might be 9 months. And I rang the company up. They couldn't come out for 5 days. It cost me over 280 odd pound it was, because my tenant couldn't wait. And for a couple of £100 more, I could have had peace of mind. Yeah. And people are saying, oh, well, I don't want to spend that. Well, there's a reason why it's so cheap. We get a great price on Worcester Bosch, and Alex is always telling me off, and I put a figure on, yeah, and I get told off every time I do this that I put the first digit, yes, ... And this was on Saturday night. Freaking Sunday morning at 7:58, I got Alex texting me, "Get it off, watch on." I thought, Git, he must have only just got up. And I'm going to say to you, what are you doing getting out of bed at that time? But my point was, my point was, no, we can't talk about pricing because you are really sensitive on that, and I totally understand that. But I just want members to get it from you that it's a great product. It's really quite supported heavily by Worcester Bosch at our pricing level, and about your service, that if something does go wrong, I've only ever had in 8 years, 7 years we've been partners in doing boilers together, I've had one issue, one complaint. Do you know that? One.
Well, actually, what we're working on as well is that, surprisingly, of all our engineers that go out, a lot of the issues aren't to do with the actual boiler. A lot of them are the way they've been installed, or like what Adi was saying last week, not flushed through correctly, or haven't had a filter, or not wired correctly, not fluid correctly, not installed correctly, not commissioned correctly. So, but that's why we work so hard with the installers, and we invest so much in training to ensure that the customer journey from cradle to grave is a good experience. And there's a lot of investment in making sure that we keep to this high scoring on Trustpilot and people's views. So it's controlling that as well. But in regards to the breakdowns, we do. The focus is at the core on quality. We're fortunate as well within a large organisation like Bosch that we can manufacture the components ourselves. We're not reliant on external providers. So that heat exchanger that I just showed you, that's a Bosch. It's a Bosch heat exchanger. So then we can control the quality as well. The PCBs, which is almost like the brains of boilers, it tells you to switch on and switch off. That's a Bosch PCB. The where possible, we will manufacture it ourselves rather than put our fate in suppliers, in other suppliers' hands. Saying that, we have a very stringent quality criteria for suppliers. So for a fan supplier or a gas valve supplier or whatever, and we're constantly having this 360 review of quality, and it helps with our engineers, 360 engineers that are going out to call outs, and there's millions and millions of Worcester Bosch boilers out there under guarantee that we're getting data on, and we will find out if there is an issue very early. Hopefully we'll pick that up in the manufacturing plant, and you've been to visit the plant, you know, where you've seen them test, you know, each appliance. We have something called the Jidoka, can't say it now, Jidoka principle, which is a Japanese principle about you can't move on to the next stage unless you've completed the previous stage. So we have, you know, when you came round, we can take photos. If it doesn't match that photo, it won't go past that previous stage of where, you know, you've put that pump on the boiler or that gas valve in the right place.
I've seen
We've
it.
got tooling, and the torque is the correct torque, where you're tightening up the might be a screw, or putting in a rivet, or whatever. So, you know, we have a process called continuous improvement. So we don't just stop there. We continually want to improve the quality. So very much like, I guess, the aeronautical industry, where, you know, you strive for 100% quality. There's the last thing that you want is accidents happening. We take that process in manufacturing at Worcester Bosch.
Yeah, and the other thing is that I just I'm struggling with words here, and I really am, because I don't want to be an advert for Worcester Bosch, and I am, because it's a pain in the backside when a boiler breaks down, because you've got there's a lot to go through. You've got to ring them, you've got to ring the tenant, you've got to make sure the engineer turns up, what time, make sure the tenant's in, and it's that circle. And people still drive, I want cheap. And the other thing I was going to say, and I heard it the other day, I had a plumber saying, oh, Worcester Bosch, crap. And I went, hold on, they ain't crap. They seem to want to knock the number one. We have a habit in this country. Someone's been successful. What we really want to do is have a pop at them. I'm sorry to put it in that way, but I hear it all the time. Oh, this and that. I want to do this and I'll use that. And you think, why? I was with you, and I won't mention who the company was, but I said, why don't you just fit Worcester Bosch? And he went, didn't give me an exit, and you told me to shut up. Do you remember that? I didn't put a bloody idiot.
I mean, you know, it's just working hard, making sure we're delivering to our customers and we want to be open arms to every customer in the supply chain, whether that be the consumer. I think the consumers have really, and that obviously includes landlords, have really sort of taken to the brand, and we've built the trust over the number of years. You can see behind me, it's actually 10 years running we've had the Which Best Buy award, and so we've worked hard at that, and that's an independent survey where consumers and engineers alike as well. You've got to remember as well that you know, arguably there is certain agendas in the marketplace. You know, some people in the industry want boilers to break down a lot because they earn a good business from it. You know, if you're a breakdown engineer, and you can charge that. And I think it's getting a balance versus what I call the capital expenditure of what you would outlay on the investment of a product, and what it costs to maintain it, the operational expenditure, the OPEX. And so what we're trying to...
the other thing, and you've given us a 7-year warranty.
Yeah. So yeah, that's, you know, that really sort of endorses our confidence on the product, and we give a 10-year parts guarantee on the heat exchanger.
Yeah, I know that, and I only found that out the other day. And the other thing that you do, that everybody gives warranties, but you're the only company that give a guarantee.
Yeah, we'd rather call it a guarantee, because with warranties there are, you know, things where you can get out of responsibilities. The big focus for us is customer focus, and we really want to make sure those customers have a positive experience. And this is why, perhaps when it's not a Worcester Bosch problem or fault of the boiler, we'll fix it. We're not going to, if it's not been installed correctly and we are having to go and fix it, we're not going to leave that resident, that homeowner, without heating and hot water. So we are, you know, there's the big ethical focus on customer service.
I've got so many questions to ask you. Do you prioritise if somebody's like a young family, somebody who's an LHA tenant, yeah, and their body breaks down, it happens to break down, you prioritise to get to them first.
Yeah, so there is, obviously you can imagine there's thousands of calls that go in with broken down boilers. There's millions of Worcester Bosch boilers out there. But yeah, of course, we want to be understanding to all different scenarios. So during the lockdown, obviously NHS workers, that, you know, if we're notified and that, you know, that they're in at a certain time because they're working a 12-hour, 14-hour shift or whatever, then we'll make every measure to make sure that our engineers can go there to fix their boilers.
I keep opening my mouth. I've got, yeah. And I haven't asked you this, and I don't know if it's possible. Could we do like a visit once a year? Any LNPG member wants to go down, and we do it on a certain day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we like do a 50 people in your factory? And if anybody, like up to a maximum of 50 once a year, if people got any doubts about Worcester Bosch commitment to the landlord market, that you'll invite them down for the day.
I think that's a great idea. I think it's a really good idea, because then, you know, the landlord market is particularly interesting for us because, you know, they've got a lot of responsibilities, landlords, on maintaining a property. And I always think, you know, I'm biased, that the heating is the most important. What is it, you know, what appliance could you do without in a home? You know, I could probably do without a fridge for a week, but could I, in the height of winter, could I do without heating and hot water for a week? So yeah, I mean, we're really interested in engaging more with landlords and your members. We've got, obviously, we don't know at the moment when the factory is going to be open for tours, because of social distance and all that sort of stuff. But you know,
and I want people to know that we've become good friends. Yeah. And we have.
Sure.
We play golf. Yeah, we play golf. Anytime I get to kick his backside, I try to, yeah. And he's Mr. Competitive. Mr. Competitive, yeah. I wind him up on the golf course. And we go to France together once a year, me and you. And it's honestly, and all we do is talk about how we improve getting that message out to the landlord market about improving the quality of the heating system in people's homes. Yeah. And we do. People, they call us Mr. Boring. And I'm, by the way, I'm in bed at 12 o'clock. He goes and gets drunk.
Careful. We'll have to edit that.
Yeah, but we do talk. Yeah. And we when we're having dinner together, when we're playing golf, it's about, and I come up with these crazy ideas, and he goes, Nick, no. What are you going to do next? Yeah, what are you going to? Yeah, because I'm so passionate about improving heating. Heating is so important to tenants, especially in the winter.
Yeah.
Summer, no. But
well, if you recall, you know, that was first what really engaged me and our business and Paul, our sales director, about your passion for improving rental accommodation. I think, you know, we're you know, what is the norm? Do landlords just chuck something in and not have regard for the resident and then think about things later in terms of their investment? And, you know, we're trying to get to grips in regards to what the landlord market is like. Is it more sort of cheap, you know, not look at the long term so much, or the consequences of that cheap investment?
Our pricing, Alex, it's not expensive. LNPG prices, I'm not being rude or disrespectful, it's a fantastic price, and you've supported us.
Yeah. So what was really interesting for me is that this has sort of enabled us to sort of have a quality for all approach, or what I would call a Worcester for all approach, where no matter where you are in society, you know, whether, you know, you're living in living accommodation, in social housing, that now, you know, we've got it, you know, great quality products at affordable prices. Yeah. And you know, I think that's what's really interesting for, you know, and actually it could enable, we'll get to a point where, you know, I've got a Worcester Bosch boiler, I feel comforted because I can trust in that, you know, when you open the cupboard or whatever, that, yeah, okay, I'm less likely to be without heating. And if I am going to be without heating, we can rely on the service backup that that the service infrastructure has at Worcester Bosch.
Oh, by the way, you'd be happy to know, next week, I'm having my Worcester Bosch boiler fitted.
Oh, at last.
I bought a Worcester Bosch boiler, yeah, and it sat in my garage for nearly a year because on a personal level, I couldn't get to it, yeah, but it's being sorted. It's going to be sorted out, and I can't wait because I've got ad hoc hot water. Yes, cuts in, cuts out, cuts in, cuts out. So I've rang the plumber and I said, just come and fix the boiler. And he went, at last. I've been so busy. I mean, I come home, I eat, I sleep, I get up, I go to work. Yeah, it's just eat, sleep, and LNPG, and it really has been like that. And somebody said to me, Nick, get your boiler fixed. It was my girlfriend. She said, get the boiler fixed. Yeah.
Well, this is a lot of the time, there is a lot of intermittent issues in boilers, and it's about fixing it. And, you know, I think the supply chain is a unique supply chain because we supply direct to the merchant. Merchant normally supplies directly to the gas safe engineer or installer, and then installer supplies to the landlord or the homeowner. And obviously there is people have different preferences down that supply chain. So we're just trying to sort of really bring that supply chain together, but ultimately the budget holder, who is ultimately spending the money at the end, and that is the landlord. And that's why, you know, the LNPG, you know, works so that you can deliver value on our products.
Absolutely, because if you buy a cheap boiler, as I found out, and I found out many years ago as well, is that it costs you a fortune going forward. I'm going to stop it there because, I mean, Alex, me and you can talk about this all day, and we do. We have many a conversation, and we get on the phone together, and we're like an hour about this.
Yeah.
Alex, I do appreciate giving up your time. Yes.
Forget that.
Oh, by the way, yeah, the Alex jacket. Yeah. Have you got a glut of them or something?
I was going to say,
jacket. Yeah,
it's getting chilly.
It's summer.
It's cold in the evening and the mornings.
Yeah, I tell you what, Alex, Anthony's locked down at the moment. Yeah, and he's so miserable. He put his Christmas jumper on. Yeah,
I'm taking it off now.
Yeah,
I mentioned it.
He's locked down, isn't he? He's in Leicester.
Well, look, if there's any questions, Nick, from any of your members, I don't know when this is going out. I'm quite happy to answer any questions.
I've got some bad news. It's gone out live. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't.
Well, thank you for your time. You know, really appreciate you doing these. They're really insightful.
Yeah.
You know, for us, it's a lot about sort of education and engaging with the right people and not distorting some of the, you know, the negative or fake stories that sometimes, you know, you get out about. So if you want to speak to the horse's mouth, please do get in touch. No,
and honestly, Alex, you know, you're a great mate, and just so thank you so much for coming on and doing this for us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for your time, Alex.
Yeah, and I'll say good night to you, Alex.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Nick.
Yes, good night, everybody.